Thank you for joining us tonight. You're now with me, Shao Shaminato, for TVS Nightline. We begin with the headlines tonight. A suspected cryptocurrency mining operation illegally stealing electricity has been found by the police. Officers from the Padawan Police Headquarters had been tipped off about the premises located along Jalan Matang Batukawa, Moyan Jaya 2 at 2:45 p.m. earlier today. Checks with Sarawak Energy Berhad's authorities also revealed an illegal circuit to the main switch. Further investigation found a mining machine still in an operating condition at the top level of the building. Police found a bank of 93 units of mining machine, a unit of CPU, 1 unit of modem, and 3 boxes of mining components. All items were seized in the raid as case exhibits. Meanwhile, Sarawak is still focusing its efforts to vaccinate those aged 18 years old and above. According to Deputy Chief Minister Dato' Ahmad Douglas Uga Ambas, the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee was still following through with the plan as directed by the Ministry of Health.
For 18 and below, we are waiting for the decision from KKM. At the moment, there's no decision, and therefore we are not giving vaccination to those below 18.
Meanwhile, Uga stressed that the decision to shift to Phase 2 of the National Recovery Plan (NRP) is not a rash decision. The transition, which begins tomorrow, was approved after Sarawak reached the 3 threshold indicators, as stated in the NRP.
Number 1, the number of cases per 100,000. Number 2, the capacity of our medical facilities. Number 3, the percentage of the qualified Sarawakian that has been vaccinated. In both cases, in all the 3 cases, kita layak.
He stated the transition to Phase 2 was not an easy task for Sarawak. Sarawak has reached 27% of vaccination rate, more than 10% of the allocated threshold target. Sarawak has also shown a significant decrease in COVID-19. Nonetheless, despite the transition, the public are against letting their guard down in the second phase of the NRP. Sarawak has recorded a total of 17 Delta variant cases up to July 4th. This was disclosed by the director of UNIMAS Institute of Health and Community Medicine, IHCM, Professor Dr. David Pereira, in his latest report to the chairman of the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee, Dato' Ahmad Douglas Uga Ambas. All of the cases were detected in Kuching. 16 cases were detected up to 4th July, while the first case was detected on June 8th involving a 56-year-old man. Douglas added the ongoing surveillance was spearheaded by UNIMAS IHCM and has been implemented throughout the whole state. Another new case of the Beta variant has also been detected in Kuching in the same period. Meanwhile, Dr. Pereira further disclosed that 35 Beta variant cases were reported in Kuching, 3 in Bau, and 1 each in Lundu, Surian, Simunjan, and Cebu. Meanwhile, for both Theta and Eta variants, there were no increase in the number. But previously, 6 Theta variant cases were detected in Kuching and 7 in Kota Samarahan. There was also 1 Eta case reported in the past. He also added the cumulative total of 76 variants of concern, VOC, and variants of interest, VOI, have been detected in Sarawak from positive COVID-19 cases up to 4th July. On to the next update. A no-go for Sarawakins to do dine-in at eateries, even as the state enters Phase 2 of the National Recovery Plan (NRP) tomorrow, the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee, SDMC, announced today. The committee made the decision after finding out that the Delta variant of COVID-19 cases have been on the rise in Sarawak. The State Ministry of Local Government and Housing will review and improve the guidelines or the standard operating procedures for dine-in at dining premises in Phase 2 or the NRP soon. However, dine-in is temporarily not allowed until the latest guidelines are issued by the ministry. The decision was made after SDMC performed a risk assessment with the National Security Council and taking into account the threshold indicators for the state to transition into the next phases of NRP. Early under Phase 2, there will be more relaxed movement control restrictions, including dine-ins, which would be allowed. The Sarawak Day celebration on July 22 will proceed this year, albeit in a muted scale due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Local Government and Housing Minister Dr. Sim Kui Hian in a media conference today said Sarawak Day will be celebrated in a hybrid concept.
Our Sarawak Days celebration this year, because of COVID-19, we will only have one formal event, which is on the 22nd July, that night, in the Dome, in which we have a hybrid of virtual and live performance.
With the theme Sarawak Gemilang untuk Semua, the event will be held at the State Legislative Assembly Building in Petrajaya and will be attended by Head of State Tun Pehin Sri Abdul Taib Mahmud and Tuan Puan Ragat Kurdi and Sarawak Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg and wife. Limited to only 100 guests, the event will also acknowledge the hard work of the unsung heroes during the pandemic.
But the guest list, the unit protocol is working out. It's not all just a VIP. It will be a lot of the ordinary people, the NGOs, the unsung heroes that people forgotten.
Sarawak Day 2021 will be broadcasted live on TVS Astro Channel 122 and MyTV on July 22nd at 8:15 p.m.
Meanwhile, Dr. Sim has lauded the efforts of medical professionals who have gone above their call of duty by volunteering at vaccination centres in the fight against COVID-19. In singing praise to them, Dr. Sim called them extraordinary.
That once in 100 years, the medical profession has been doing extraordinary. There have been extraordinary efforts like UNIMAS, like Koji Square. These are extraordinary efforts that the medical profession stepping out, stepping forward, doing the calling once in 100 years, and with the purpose of fighting COVID-19 together.
He added that the medical volunteers embody the spirit of everyone playing their part to help during this difficult period. At the same time, Dr. Sim also commended the success of the Batu Kawah Vaccination Centre, who administered its 4,000th dose on Monday.
4,000 doses, we are very, we notice that if we go by My Sejahtera, because they go by age group, and then we notice that some of the unsung heroes get missed out. So we start the media people, the rubbish collectors, the undertaker. So we start helping them to vaccinate in all these high-risk group, that the unsung heroes, and then we just want to give them an early vaccination so that they can also go and play their roles in our war against COVID.
And now on to the COVID-19 development. Sarawak today recorded 472 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, along with 2 fatalities, according to the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee, SDMC. A total of 168 of the new cases involved detainees at Miri Central Prison, while 2 were involving immigration detainees in Sri Aman. 2 fatalities were recorded in Cebu and Kanawit, 1 death involving a 58-year-old woman from Cebu. The victim, who had a history of high blood pressure, diabetes, chronic kidney disease and heart disease, was tested positive for COVID-19 on June 29. As for the new cases, Miri recorded the highest number of cases at 178, followed by Kuching, Tabadu, Samarahan, Serian, Bau, Kapit, Sarike, Sibu, Muka, Song, Meradong, Sri Aman, Bintulu, Lundu and Selangau. Asajaya, Sabau, Subis, Tatau and Telang Usan all recorded one new case each. Meanwhile, the current cumulative number of COVID-19 cases in the state has increased to 69,576, while the death toll is now 472.
Kami Firafandi sebagai Putit.
Ya, kalau dia Putit, saya Tonton James sebagai Buang.
Jangan lupa untuk menonton drama komedi senyap Sayang Celorot Si Kuih Cincin
Pada setiap Sabtu dan Ahad pukul 12.15 tengah hari.
hanya untuk TVS saluran 1, 22 Astro dan My TV. Guys, confirm mantul.
1, 2, 2.
That's part of the village chief task to take care of the villagers, their social life, right? Their family lives.
Dulu kampung ini nama dia asal dia ialah Kampung Buta.
You know, from the kampung, we are very independent. It's a very strong-willed woman.
Penyalang terbang jauh, meneroka dunia yang luas, meneroka cabaran, membawa jalan hidup di perantauan untuk keluarga, untuk negara, untuk kita semua. From Sarawak, with love.
Welcome back to the Nightline with our development. 6 suspects, including a woman of a syndicate known as Mika, are facing the gallows after they were arrested during separate drug operations here in Kuching.
Maklumat tuan-tuan dan puan, baru-baru ini Jabatan Sertarji Jenayah Narkotik Kontijen Sarawak telah berjaya merampas seberat 5,253.9 gram dada jenis ganja dan 1.0 gram jenis ketamin.
Sarawak Deputy Police Commissioner DCP Mancha Atta said a man and a woman were arrested in a first raid at a residential house in Pending Heights here with 960 grams of cannabis. Based on the information from the raid, police arrested another man in a car parked at the side of a shop in Tabanjaya here and seized 505 grams of cannabis in the said vehicle. The third suspect then led police to raid a house in Taman Desa Ilmu, Kota Samarahan, where they arrested a man and seized 14.9 grams of cannabis and 1 gram of ketamine. Mancha said the fourth raid was carried out at a shop house in Kota Samarahan, where they arrested a man and seized 3,774 grams of cannabis found in a rubbish bin.
Manakala jumlah keseluruhan nilai anggaran dada yang dirampas pada 9 hari bulan yang lepas adalah berjumlah RM25,295 Malaysia, melibatkan tangkapan seramai 6 pengedar berusia antara 25 hingga 35 tahun dan seorang perempuan.
A MPV vehicle estimated to be worth 8,000 ringgit and cash amounting to 3,300 ringgit were also seized. Further checks also found that 2 out of the 6 suspects has prior criminal records related to narcotics. The suspects will be investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952 and have been remanded for 7 days until July 17 to facilitate investigations. He also urged courier service operators to increase checks on packages they handle to avoid their services being used by drug traffickers. In another development, in preparations of the tourism doors opening, the beautiful and historical Kampong Santubong receives a facelift with a new drainage system, a recreational area and renovations of nearby historical attractions.
Yang kita lihat di sebelah kita ada satu struktur besar, benteng konkrit yang telah pun dibina melalui dana persekutuan yang telah pun siap sepenuhnya untuk mengatasi masalah hakisan tepi pantai yang sering berlaku semasa musim tengkujuh. Apabila siap saja benteng konkrit ini, salah satu masalah yang kita hadapi ialah air bertakung di sebelah dalam benteng tersebut dan menyebabkan memberi kesan kepada rumah-rumah yang berada di tepi pantai. Jadi pihak JKK penghulu telah pun mencadangkan supaya dibina satu sistem peperitan yang sistematik.
Visiting the state-funded gutter project earlier today, Datuk Dr. Abdul Rahman Junaidi says that the 391-meter gutter and the 41-meter gutter extension was made to solve an issue caused by the concrete seawall built 5 years ago.
InsyaAllah apabila PKP ini selesai, kita boleh menjalankan kehidupan seperti biasa. Saya pasti apa saja yang ada di Kampung Santubong ini, sama ada kemudahan sukan, kemudahan keprasaranan awam, serta keindahan alam semula jadi, serta sejarahnya akan menjadi tarikan kepada pelawat dan pelancong untuk datang ramai-ramai ke kampung ini.
The gutter project included a recreational area for residents and tourists to engage in activities such as beach volleyball, beach football and camping, as well as renovations on the nearby Wallace Center and Santubong Archaeological Park.
Malaysia is now on the right track to achieve herd immunity before the end of this year, with promising numbers of the daily COVID-19 vaccination rate now surpassing 420,000 doses. On Monday, the country's daily vaccination rate hit a record high at 421,479 doses, of which 264,034 were administered as the first dose and 157,445 others as the second dose. Therefore, looking at this positive outcome, Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has ordered the Coordinating Minister for the National COVID-19 Immunisation Programme, Khairi Jamaluddin, to purchase any available vaccines. And Malaysia is ready to enter into strategic cooperation with the United States to address the human trafficking issue, especially forced labour, said Human Resources Minister Dr. Sri M. Saravanan. Saravanan also added that among the initiatives implemented by the ministry to address the issue includes the enforcement of the Employment Act 1955 and the Workers' Minimum Standards of Housing and Amenities Act 1990, whereby throughout last year until June this year, a total of 194 investigation papers had been opened. Saravanan said the ministry was in the midst of reviewing the U.S. State Department's report, as well as the Modern Slavery PEC study, to improve existing measures and ensure a comprehensive approach to deal with labour issues. And failure is simply not an option. Therefore, the government is confident that the strategies laid out in the National Recovery Plan, NRP, will help to guide the country's exit from the COVID-19 crisis. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tunku Abdul Aziz said, at the moment, there isn't a perfect solution that will enable Malaysia to exit the stressful and inhibiting lockdowns once and for all. According to Tengku Zafrul, thousands of young Malaysians have volunteered at vaccination centres and in government-run social support programs. Coupled with efforts in refining our current COVID-19 case management, ramping up vaccinations and supporting the vulnerable, it is clear that these are not signs of a country heading towards a failed statehood, but of a nation determined to fight back against the mother of all pandemics. The minister noted that the country's present difficulties have prompted an unfair assessment that Malaysia is becoming a failed state. And now on to our sports development. It is every national athlete's dream to make it to the big leagues. That is, of course, the Olympic Games. And for our national cyclist Muhammad Shafidau Sahrom, he pushes the dream further to score a medal for his maiden appearance in the Tokyo Olympics 2021 held later this month.
According to Shah himself, the unwavering support from his coach John Beasley, his fellow teammates Muhammad Azizul Hasni Awang, and sponsors such as Sime Darby Foundation are key factors to his high performance in the sports. Azizul Hasni, who was given the nickname the Pocket Rocket Man, and Shah will be partaking in the individual Kirin and sprinting event during the Tokyo Games starting 4th of August. A total of 2.6 million ringgit have been allocated from February 2017 to August 2021 for the SDFTCT Road to Tokyo program. The program became stepping stones for young athletes such as Shah and two other national cyclists, namely Muhammad Fadil Muhammad Zonis and Anis Amira Rosidi, to qualify themselves in 50 other international games held worldwide.
Ayah, su artinya. Nevin. Nevin.
Cik pun Alik yang tak jadi buat ya.
Oh, ada gas.
Yang penting gas ya.
Oh, yang penting gas.
Macam gas ya.
Cik, Abi lah. Aku mau viral ni.
Apa kau mau viral?
Saya dapat masuk buat tipek.
Apa makan dia tipek?
Ai, show kan TVS ya. Setiap Isnin sampai Ahad. 2 suku petang.
Selamat 1, 2, 2.
Tahu pun. Tahu pun tanya aku.
From our source, halal remain halal also to the table.
Empowering women through weaving. With the Penang Women Project is 100%.
Yeah, pharmacy actually is very accessible.
For more brand insights from business leaders, you brand your product as Sarawak 3-layer milk tea.
If one day go this bed,
What type of technology, the latest technology that you brought? Hello and welcome to Brand Pulse with me, Mariana, as your host for yet another exciting episode.
Thank you for staying with me. In world news, the Saudi Arabian government has included Sinovac in its list of recognized vaccines to gain entry into the country. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department of Religious Affairs, Dr. Zulkifli Muhammad Al-Bakri, said the public could convey the good news to family members who intended to perform Hajj and Umrah in Saudi Arabia.
Dato' Zulkifli also shared a link to the Saudi Arabian Health Ministry's website on his official Facebook page for reference purposes. With the latest developments, Saudi Arabia now recognizes 6 types of vaccines, namely Pfizer-BioNTech, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Janssen, Sinopharm, and Sinovac. Prior to this, it was reported that only pilgrims who received the Pfizer and AstraZeneca vaccines would be allowed to perform the Hajj. This raised concerns among Malaysians who mostly were administered with a Sinovac vaccine.
And Japan is expected to provide free digital vaccine passports to enable a smoother process for citizens who plan to travel internationally. The immunization document that proves the recipient's vaccination will be available starting July 26. Japan currently approves 3 vaccines, namely Pfizer-BioNTech, Oxford AstraZeneca, and Takeda, a locally made vaccine. Japan will also be hosting the Olympics, scheduled to begin on the 23rd of July, and which will commence without an audience, following the COVID-19 pandemic. And Australian scientists have developed a pain-free blood sugar testing method for diabetics through a non-invasive strip that checks glucose levels via saliva. The latest test works by embedding an enzyme that detects glucose into a transistor that can then transmit the presence of glucose.
According to Paul Dastoor, professor of physics at the University of Newcastle in Australia, who led the team that created it, the test can be made through printing at a low cost since the electronic materials in the transistor are inks.
The holy grail of glucose testing has been something that is non-invasive. And so what we were able to show over the last 20 years is that we're able to detect glucose at sensitivities, at the concentrations that it exists in your saliva, which is about 100 times lower than it is in your blood. And so, of course, that's remarkable now, because instead of asking people to stab themselves 5-10 times a day, we now offer the opportunity of a test which actually just uses your saliva.
The project secured $4.7 million, which is equivalent to 19.7 million ringgit, in funding from the Australian government to establish a facility to produce the test kits should clinical trials be passed. Dastoor says the technology could also be transferred to COVID-19 testing and allergen, hormone, and cancer testing.
And that concludes TVS Nightline for tonight. And as we still are fighting with the pandemic, I would like to urge all locals to always stay vigilant. Here with me, Shortamato, and I'll see you next time. Have a good morning.